Thou shalt not email. Thou shalt not email.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go! Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom.
Yes, 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 and yes. Dr. Z, it is always ecstasy when you are next to me, my friend. How are you?
Dude, I tell you what, I just really love being in the man cave. You just can't help but feeling like a man when you walk in here.
You know what I like about the man cave too is I like the drama-free zone.
Oh,
I love that. I
So
want to
nice.
say, every day in a row,
every day.
you've chosen not to be a dramatic person.
Well,
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Though I feel like
wait a second. Do you think that's actually a conscious decision? Do you think some people are just wired to be drama?
just as an example, we had a young lady who worked with one of my businesses for years. Is it years?
Years. Now, when you say worked with, in what capacity?
She'd been a member of our team.
Okay.
At one of our businesses. I don't want to get too much because it's still litigious.
Sure. Oh,
for
no.
about 5 years.
Oh, no. Okay.
And in certain businesses, we'll go optometry. We could say auto auctions. We could say
Sleep centers.
haircuts.
facilities.
In certain businesses,
DJ business.
there's a relationship that occurs with like a doctor or a stylist or something.
Sure.
And you know how it is. A certain doctor or a stylist or somebody could say, hey, I'm doing my own thing on the side. And I'm going to be leaving in 2 weeks. If you want to follow me to my new place.
Oof. Ooh, that's a dirty
You could
move.
do that. Now, here's
You
the
can do
move that was done, though. This is the
Okay.
move. The move is
Okay.
this. Hey, I'm being terminated right now due to I don't want to say what it is.
Right.
Because it's very, very, and it'll all come out later.
Sure.
But I have just chosen, because of some ethical issues, to move on
not the
to,
e-card.
because of ethics.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And I just wanted you to know I'm a single mom and I have to support my kids. So if you would follow me to my new place, because I'm leaving because of the ethics. I don't want to leave. I love this place. I love my customers. I love my customers.
I love what I do.
She uses the phrase, my customers. I hear her on the camera, my customers. I love my customers. You know I don't want to leave you.
No.
But I need to do ethical things. I'm just going to let you know, I need you to, if you can follow me over to my new place, it would help me with my income because I'm a single mom.
Because I'm a single mom. And I need to take care of my kids.
Twice with different men as a result of no fault of her own, just twice. Just the facts. So I find out about this because hundreds of people were getting the same call.
Wow.
Which
that's a
means
lot.
the person had to download our database
Sure.
and call.
Sure.
So I think probably maybe 24 calls in or so, a guy calls me, hey, just so you know, I've been working with you a long time. I know you. I've done business with you. This call was made, didn't sound right, sounded weird. I wanted you to know, have you got this call yet? And I said, no, but thank you. Another guy calls me, hey, just so you know. So I was getting it seemed like every maybe 100 calls she made, maybe 4 or 5 guys would call me.
Sure.
So I have to let the person go, obviously, because I see what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Which further perpetuates the lie of that she's choosing to leave in 2 weeks because of the situation. So now perpetuates look, she got blindsided. Now that's her call now is I got blindsided. Here I was trying to leave take the high road.
Trying to do the right thing.
And so what I did, and because of mentoring from you and business books I've read and reading Jack Welch and osmosis of being around great leadership, on our Monday meeting, it was brought to my attention this was happening. And they're like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?
What are we going to do about this, right?
And I said, whoa. Johnny works a 9 to 5. And I didn't.
You did not break out in song
Hold
right there.
on to what we've got.
I've got to call a little. I'm not sure you broke out in song right there.
Give it a shot. I didn't break into Bon Jovi.
Okay.
I could have done it. I could have lost my mind.
You could have done it.
I could have left the room and said, where's my mind? I got to go find it.
I've got to find it.
I could have started crying.
That's another move.
I could have said, she will rue the day. You start to make these, you make those kind of statements. She will rue the day.
What does rue the day? What does
an eye for an eye.
Like? What does rueing look like, by the way?
I could have said, random Shakespeare things when people really don't know what it means. I could have said, the game's afoot, right? Right.
It's a f-
Right? I mean, these are all things you could say, right?
Absolutely.
We'll nip this in the bud, I
You
tell
know
you.
it.
But I decided to do nothing.
Nothing as in nada.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, this happens about every 3 months
Sure.
with this particular business. It's part of the game.
It's part of the game.
People move on.
And why do you think that is?
Because there's 70 some odd people there. The average person's there about 4 or 5 years. And what happens is I get a little notification, which happened on this occasion, and almost every occasion it happens, saying, hey, this person needs to have their wages garnished because they're being a deadbeat single dad or mom.
That happens.
And so you have to then, when wages are garnished, can you kind of explain for the listeners that don't know what that means?
Well, it comes in the form of a court order. And so
So it's not a choice.
It's not a choice. And what they do is they go to the employer and they say they force you to take money out of the paycheck before the said employee gets it to compensate whatever debt they owe. It
Could
be fill in the blank.
Right. A lot of times it's auto debt. It could be maybe being a deadbeat parent. It could be
Not paying child support would
There's
be
so
one,
many
or-
things it could be.
So many things.
So I brought it to the person's attention very privately, discreetly. I said, hey, with me and one other person present, hey, we're going to have to do some garnishments. Looks like there's some child support and some other things. We need to just knock this out.
Sure.
Outrage begins. I've been here 5 years. You won't just pay me cash?
Uh-oh. No, they did not ask that.
It's a true story.
Why is it that if somebody's in the hot seat,
Outrage.
they're always ready to go to the unethical form of whatever it is.
Right away.
to
That's
get-
the
to
default
get-
move.
To get their due. They feel like they're due, right?
Right. And you just see it happening. And so, but members of my team, as recently as 2 hours ago, have said to me, I cannot believe you're letting her walk all over you.
Well, you know, it's interesting because it's kind of like they're not following the letter of the law of whatever their situation is.
Right.
And their first instinct is to try to get you as an accomplice to allow them to continue that narrative. You know what I'm saying?
And then what happens is, here's where it gets crazy. This is
Yeah.
where I don't make it crazy, but this is what most of our listeners unfortunately have done, and I have done this. It's when you send the email, the bold manifesto.
No.
You know the one where you start typing that bad
You
boy.
take a stand?
You start typing that email at about 11 p.m. because you can't sleep.
I've been there.
And about 3 a.m. it's like page 3. And let me just give you an example of the kind of email you shouldn't send that we've all sent at one point. Okay, on today's show. It's thou shalt not email. Thou shalt not email.
Well, none of our listeners. We're talking about other
we're only
people.
talking about me.
Or well,
And maybe something I've done once in the past.
Maybe
something that none of our listeners have done. Right.
probably not.
So we're talking about thou shalt not email and the consistent cowardice of keyboard warriors.
Ooh.
So this is
wow.
what I would have done, 14 years ago.
Okay.
And I did this before. I write an email. I remember I called it the DJ Manifesto.
There we go. Come on.
And I
now.
wrote this thing starting, I think about, 10 o'clock, about 11 o'clock at night because I couldn't sleep. I normally go to bed like at 9. So it's like 11. I can't sleep. It's 11 o'clock. I've never been up this late. It's crazy, I'm up at 11 o'clock and I'm writing. It's like, I normally don't do this, but because you want to start like that. I normally don't do this,
Yes,
but on
but.
Facebook people do this.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, I don't normally
I
do
never
this, but-
respond to a post.
or it's
but.
oddly formal.
Oh yeah.
Dear team,
Dear T.
we have an issue that must be addressed, and it has been a fortnight since I have encountered such an abomination. So you use more syllables.
Right. And a fortnight, as we all know, is 2 weeks.
So it's been a fortnight since I have, but you're using words. It's kind of like a wedding invitation. You don't know what the words mean, right? You're
but
cordially
that's-
invited to the betrothed wedding. Choose a box where you check the mark between chicken and steak, and we know that nobody uses the mail system anymore, but sending a
That was
text
supposed
would
to
be
do
tactless,
this,
and we're
yes,
supposed
yes.
to do this, and then you'll handwrite me back something to thank me for the gift. Anyway,
I think you'll show up and wonder why you're getting steak and not chicken and throw a fit.
and you pay a guy to handwrite it with calligraphy. But the point is,
Oh, yeah.
it's that formal text.
Sure.
And you're like, it has been called to my attention that one of my disc jockeys has violated the non-compete agreements. See segment 2-1.
Oh, there's always a say.
And you start writing, and then you realize, no, this isn't effective. So you call your attorney.
Oh.
And you say, attorney, I want you to craft an email. So your attorney's like, hey, for $1,000, I'll craft it.
Of all crafts.
So he's a crafty man. So he's out there crafty like MacGyver. He's writing this. And you know what I'm talking about? It's like a 3-page PDF, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you hit send. Shoo, shoo, a lot of all caps in there.
And the first moment you hit it, you feel pretty good.
Oh, you're right.
You feel good.
You're
yes.
thinking, thunder.
Yes.
Ah, it's like the AC/DC song.
Oh, yeah.
Thunder.
Oh, goddamn. I'm showing them who the boss is.
Watch me explode. Yeah, because I'm TNT. You're getting into it. You're fired up. You said,
Oh, yeah.
When you said it, it's feeling good because you said it like at 2 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
Because, and now like at 7 or 8,
When you finally wake up a little bit.
yeah, because a lot of programs will show you how many people open the email. And you realize, gosh, only like 7 of my 80 people have opened this thing. So that's part of frustration.
Yes.
But then you realize that those who are easy to be outraged email back with their one page.
Oh, my goodness.
And they weave in questions and statements in the same paragraph.
Oh, sure.
So they say, there's 2 sides to every story, and I would like for you to know, because the trolls are in control, that I have been here a long time and objectively looking at it, I'm unlike an entrepreneur who makes the money off the sweat of the backs of the people and uses other people's money for profit and gain. Well, the employee has been, and you're like, wow, this guy's really articulate. He's writing the Socialist Manifesto back.
Wow.
And now, here it goes. Now you are in an email doom loop, and this is everybody listening to this show who's ever sent a regrettable email. That's one way you can start the email doom loop. Or the other is that you love to email. Therefore, you have no control of your life.
You know, it's funny that you put it those words. I kind of like them, by the way. The email doom loop.
It is the doom loop.
That implies it's a loop that's doomed.
Okay, let me read you Ariana Huffington, a successful entrepreneur, Huffington Post. She writes, the way it works is simple. While you're away on vacation, people who email you get a message letting them know when you'll be back. And then the most important part, the tool I recommend deletes the email for you. If the email is important, the sender can always resend it. If it's not, then it's not waiting for you when you get back, or even worse, tempting you to read it while you're away. So the key is to just find the tool. So the key is not just that the tool is creating a wall between you and your email. It's that it frees you up from the mounting anxiety of having a mounting pile of emails waiting for you when you return, the stress of which mitigates the benefits of disconnecting in the first place. Guy Kawasaki, the key employee for Steve Jobs back in the day, who's now a successful venture capitalist and a key spokesperson for Mercedes-Benz, writes, email doesn't matter. I once lost 400 unanswered emails in my inbox because my email application crashed. Afterward, no one sent a follow-up email asking why I didn't respond. Later, I lost another inbox and only had a handful of people follow up. He explained during our show, now he just hits delete every few months.
You know, I have a friend of mine. I had a friend of mine that we were doing an email deal, and I'm kind of like you, Clay. Whenever I pull them up, I mean, that red dot, I'm just trying to delete, get through them, or delete.
Yeah.
And I looked at my friend and I said, oh, this is so annoying. I've got 100 emails almost every morning. I'm just going to delete, And my friend looked at me and said, I've got 12,596 currently that I haven't even looked at.
Right.
And I probably should just delete them all and start over. And I'm like, that's so good.
So I'm going to give the listeners, we're going to give listeners today practical rules for mastering your email. Very practical rules.
Ooh, oh my.
And the reason why this is such a big issue is articulated very well on a Pando Daily. Pando Daily, pando.com. We've been featured in there before. It is a tech online publication that covers things like Twitter, Uber, LinkedIn, big tech companies, Silicon Valley. And I'm going to read this to you, and I would like for you, Z, to kind of break it down for what this means to you.
Do it. This is
it says
fun.
email is like sex. Everybody does it, but few talk about what we actually do or how we do it. And those that tend to do so with missionary zeal, with lots of suggestions about what you should do, we gathered data across 38,000 inboxes and dozens of mail providers. Our data is both limited and biased, especially towards Gmail. But it's at least a healthy size sample, and any significant sampling of the email market will result in a wide range of inbox and folder sizes. However, what we found was that for a given inbox, there is a 1 in 10 chance that it will have 15 unopened items or fewer. There's a 1 out of 10 chance that it will be about 21,000 or more. Anyway, the average person has more than 1,000 unresponded to emails. And what this article is pointing out is that email is like sex. Everybody's having sex, but few people talk about what you should do or how you should do it because, most people just don't want to. It's like an obscure idea, but it's a huge thing.
Wow, that's on Pando, huh?
Yeah. So think about this for a second. So
Okay, I'm
email,
thinking.
I'm going to give you the rules, and I'd like for you to tell me if you agree.
All right. let's
Rule
do it.
number 1.
Let's do it.
Use email as a tool, and don't be a tool of email. Use email as a tool, but don't be a tool of email. Did you agree with that?
I absolutely do agree with that. I think that, and it's also a slave to the email. You know, so many times, you know, we give out our email address and then we don't want to change it because it's kind of like your phone number, your cell phone number, right? You're like, oh, I got to tell everybody I changed it. I mean, you should clean it up. And so everybody wants it because everybody wants to send you something. Everybody wants to get you on their email list. So 90%, maybe 95% of the emails I get are just push emails. You know, just the company gets it and they push out. I go in and sometimes try to unsubscribe, but I think that I have this is maybe my paranoia speaking through, but I have a feeling that when you try to unsubscribe that they go, oh, that's active. They care. They're looking. So now let's distribute that to more people that want to email him.
Right.
You know?
Well,
so it seems like every time I unsubscribe to one, I get 5 new ones that now want to email me.
So let's talk about this. I see a lot of entrepreneurs, and they're almost always unsuccessful entrepreneurs who I see, who will literally have their phone up. I'm going to take my phone up for a second. Phone up and out.
Out.
Always out and up while
Always
they're
out
having
and up.
dinner.
Yes.
While they're watching a movie, while they're hanging out with family, while they're
Right.
while they're doing everything, even whitewater rafting. And they are constantly trying to look at it like whenever there's a lull of 30 seconds. You know, whenever there's like a minute or two of downtime.
What do you think that is? Is it our addictive personalities now?
I think that the phone was designed to be an addictive device. I know it is. I've read the book Hooked that explains
Oh,
this.
yes. Oh, yes.
So people want, you know, the designers designed it to be that way. But I see people that this is, so it's like right now I'm struggling to find significance as a man because I'm, 40 and I've achieved my goals and I'm not super happy with where my life's at. So I need to stay busy. And I'm going to check email. That's what I see a lot. It's the same reason why people with very little money go out and buy a very expensive car. It's like things aren't going very well in a lot of areas, but I'm going to go drop you know what I mean? You see people with zero money at all buy the most expensive car. I think it's a search for significance. It's like I'm going to send one email real quick right now because I got nothing going on, so I'm going to send an email real quick or I'm going to get one. It's like a thing. I mean, you see bosses with businesses with maybe 20 employees or less, just bombarding their people with emails all the time. You see this all the. It's sad.
It is, and I wonder why you think that is.
I think it's just we're looking to fill the hole in our soul with something, and emails just a thumb. I mean, I see it. I mean, literally, I see this virtually 60% of the time before I can help a client get out of this loop. Where they'll send emails like this. This is the email. So an entrepreneur, a business owner will send this to their employee. Sarah, remind me tomorrow to call you about the meeting. Like, why are you sending an email and they send it like at 7 o'clock at night. Now, poor Sarah, who wants to be a good employee for you, is like, frick, I got to respond. So she responds, I will remind you tomorrow.
To call me.
You see this stuff, do you not?
Oh, yes, I do. It breaks my heart.
Blows my mind.
It blows my mind.
I guess I don't know why as much as...
Just put it on your calendar if you want to alert. I mean, we have that facility. You can do it. But it's kind of like, why is it that this world has gotten so impersonal?
Okay, now here's the next thing. In the next rule, and this ties into this impersonal thing. When possible, have a quick call versus a long email. Now, again, I could call and I could say, "Hey Z, quick note. We had this call. It was actually kind of funny because you were coming back, I believe, from Vegas, I think, and I said, Z, the office may be flooding. I've moved into Currington's building right now, short term.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah.
And if it does flood, we're fine. I got all the stuff moved.
Right.
And if it doesn't flood, we're fine.
Yeah.
So, boom. But I didn't email you the weather conditions in Tulsa have changed.
You could have had a very dramatic email.
But
by the
people
way.
do email.
The flood is coming, and just encryptically.
I think people like the drama.
Do they?
I think they do.
And why do you think that? Is it the endorphins that kick off from it? Is it the stress that
Gossip.
it creates?
I think gossip. I think that's why tabloids work. It's like, did you hear that we might have to move because the flood. Oh my gosh. And it just goes back and forth. And now this chatting in the office, it's constant like, Dr. Zellner, we have a patient up front right now who needs to be seen. What should I do? And then if you were a bad boss, you would be responding instantaneously. What you should do is greet them. Okay, I'll greet them. Meanwhile, the customer's right there.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what I see a lot of bad bosses doing.
I do too. And so I guess as far as emails go, when you look at your email, your inbox,
Yeah.
what percentage of emails would you really say are worthy of being sent?
Well, this is what I do. This is my method. I wake up every morning
Okay.
and I plan out my day.
Okay.
Then I get my inbox down to 0.
Right. So when you're deleting, what threshold do you even
If
read
you're
it?
paying me
Oh, there we go.
or I'm paying you,
Okay.
I'll respond.
There you go.
If you are an employee,
Okay.
I do not, because you should respond. You should send it to your boss.
I like that.
And I found that if I respond, then you respond again. It's like killing one fly to create 2.
That's not fun.
Hit it. Here comes 2 more. Here comes 4.
It's kind of
Here
like
comes 8.
it's kind of like the sailors back in the day. They'd catch these starfish that were eating their clams and mussels and whatnot. And what they do is they'd chop them up and throw them back in. They didn't realize they were just creating every arm they threw back in created another starfish. They were actually populating the ocean with more starfish. True story.
True story.
True story.
This is, folks. This just in from our starfish help desk.
From our oceanographer.
Jacques Cousteau here.
Jacques Cousteau moment for you. Thank you very much. If you cut off the arms of a starfish and throw it back in, you'll just make a new starfish.
That's a nice. That's a nice. Now, okay. So let me give you the next rule for emailing.
All right.
Use a professional email address. Like nothing is. Let me give you an example. If you're so successful that you can use a Gmail, you're gonna know. All right. So I've met a lot of venture capitalists, very successful people who say, hey, email me, and my name's, my email's clay@aol.com. And you're like, that dude is boss. Because you know that guy's not trying to sell anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's to a level where he doesn't have to have a fancy email address to wow you.
Right.
But if you're like a sales associate for an appliance store in Tulsa,
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
have a branded email. Have it like, Carl@wonderfulappliances.com. Don't have it be like Carl 69 in 72 at AOL. Like what was going on, Carl?
What was going on,
What was going on in 1972? Why do you have an email from 72? Did they even have email in 72? You clearly made that after 72. That means you're a 60-year-old who still thinks that's funny. Come on.
Come on, stop that.
Right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Or
I know,
hot
yeah.
mama. You see that?
So I
Hot
should
mom.
probably get rid of my email, hotcabs@gmail.com.
You know what I mean, though.
I know what you mean.
On a resume, an employee, a potential employee will put hotlegs@yahoo.com.
And say, well, that's what I was called growing up. So
This is a problem.
This is a problem.
You see this a lot, though, do you not?
Yes, and I think the whole time suck of the whole email game is not good.
I agree. Email is a huge problem. This is, again, we're giving you some rules here. 1, use email as a tool. Don't be a tool of the email. 2, when possible, have a quick call versus a long email. 3, use a professional email address. 4, thou shalt not email. Thou shalt not email. So let's do an example. Do you believe that thou shalt not lie? Do you believe that?
I think so, yes.
So let's say you're the president of the United States. Here's an ethical dilemma.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and tell you what. I'm going to give you a message, okay?
Okay.
Because this happened to George Bush.
All right.
Have you seen the documentary about George Bush reading to the kids when he heard about 9/11?
I've heard about it, but
It's incredible.
I've not actually watched
This is what happened. A advisor came to the president, and again, he wasn't mic'd. You can see it on camera, but you can't see what was said. And George now has been out of office long enough to share it. But an assistant came up to him and said, "Sir, the towers have been struck by 2 planes. What do you want me to do?" And he goes, "Well, what do we know?" They told him this or that or whatever. And he says, "I'm going to continue reading to the kids. I got 10 more minutes here to the elementary kids, and then as soon as I finish, we'll come out and we'll figure out the situation." Because they didn't know anything.
Right.
So him coming out into the hall and panicking with you doesn't help. So I feel like, though, a lot of times that we have the rule, thou shalt not lie. I agree with that rule 99% of the time. But let me just give you an example. If I was the president of the United States and I was being transparent in the way that a lot of people think the president should be, this would be my State of the Union address, okay? Hello, my fellow, I got to get into my George Bush. Hello, my fellow Americans. We're joined here today to deliver a very concerning message to American people. And I want you to know that we've had a very bad thing happen right now. And I'm freaking out, man. I'm freaking out. Oh, my, where's my guns? Where's my gold? Conde, where's my guns? Where's my gold? Hey, Dick, do we got our end times food ready to go? Yeah, this is painting.
Fire up Air Force One.
I tell you what, I'm glad I can get away, right? I mean, because we can fly that thing to Antarctica, right? I mean,
sure, now.
Crawford bomb shelter ready, right? I mean, and my Americans. I mean, George Bush was.
I think there's a difference in lying and not telling
omitting
everybody,
the truth, omitting
and not
everything.
telling somebody that you're protecting them and telling them something that they don't need to
Okay,
hear.
well, another example. Let me give you another one. Let's say you're George Bush again.
Okay, George Bush again.
And you're going to be attacking Iran tomorrow at noon.
I don't think you have a press conference and say, my fellow Americans.
But CNN asks you, and Fox asks you.
Oh,
These reporters are so clever.
Yeah.
President, you feel there's always cameras going off everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
President, do you feel you owe it to the Americans to be transparent about the date that you will pull out the troops and when you will be shooting missiles into the Libyan airspace? Well, my fellow Americans, I want you to know, as Commander-in-Chief, we'll be sending them off at 12:02.
And we'll be removing the forces at 12:01.
12:01. And also, I have a rash on my upper thigh that is caused through various reasons. I don't know. And I ate a little too much steak last night. And
my big toe's hurting. I think
my investment in the Rangers has gone up since I've been in office. Well, there it is. Where's Conde? Dick, how you doing? I mean, right,
right, and I that goes to a bigger thing because I think there's probably exceptions to every rule. I mean, you ask if it's wrong to lie, yes, but
is a rule, yes,
but there's times that it's in everybody's best interest in the long run. Just like
misdirection for the enemy.
Right. But I mean, just like you could say, is it wrong to murder somebody? I'd say yes, but I mean, if they hold,
they're coming after your wife.
If a guy come into your home and has your wife at gunpoint,
you're going to whack him.
Unless
you're a wuss.
I'm just sitting there crazy-eyed going, I'm going to kill you or you're her and the kids. What do you? I mean, and you whack them. I mean, there's an exception to almost every rule out there. So just blanket statements is, you have to have that filter, and that's
so now
that's what we're talking about today.
So the rule though is thou shalt not email. That's the rule.
Right.
The rule is don't email. And you can occasionally break the rule.
Thank you.
But don't email. Make it your rule. What are you doing? It's crazy. This is an example I just ran into probably 4 months ago. I'm losing my mind. I got a guy who's a very successful guy. I'll just say, so I don't get myself in trouble. Been a long-term client, probably 8 years now. Has a ton of real estate agents.
A ton. 2,000 pounds.
Started working with the guy, had maybe 2 agents.
Okay.
Now has, let's say, 50 agents.
Okay.
And he continues to email minute by minute updates about things. So if you work for him, it's crazy because it's like everyone's reply all, and it's like, just listed the Thompson house, just closed the Johnson house, just bought the Wendy's going to be closing her house. So Susan just closed. Good news, and it's constant. And he sends out these daily emails like on the best 17 tips for updating your listing, and no one reads it. So I said, let's put a program on your computer that shows how many people actually read the email in terms of how long, did they open it, and how long are they actually digesting.
Ooh, that's cool.
Nobody does. But he was sending them out for years.
Why do you think he was?
Trying to fill the hole in his soul. I sat down with the guy and I'm like, listen, you're making millions of dollars now. You sending out tips to 52 people every day to feel important is not helping your team, and you know it. And he's like, you're right, coach.
You're right.
I'm like, why are you doing it? He's like, well, on the home front, I come home and, I'm kind of not – things aren't going the best at home, and I'm just kind of busy. I want to stay busy, so I'm just up. But this team is like, stop. It makes you crazy. Imagine if you got a call. Imagine you had a door-to-door salesperson. Excuse me, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Zellner. Mr. Zellner, is Mr. Zellner here? Kind of role play with me on this, okay? Imagine you're at the Mayo Hotel in your condo.
Okay.
Dr. Zellner, can I speak with you real quick, sir?
I would say he's not. I would answer the word and say, okay, I'll role play it the other way. Yeah, yes, I'm right here.
I wanted to let you know tonight's special. We have a special right now. It's unbelievable. It's cocktail hour. It just has opened, and I wanted to just let you know.
Well, thank you very much.
30 seconds go by.
Okay. Hello.
Dr. Zellner, I forgot
Yes.
to tell you, tonight we are serving shrimp scampi free until 6:30. It is 6:27.
Thank you. I did not know that. Thank you.
30 seconds later. Dr. Zellner, I am so sorry. I won't be coming back again soon. I wanted you to know tonight's karaoke night at the rooftop.
Oh, well, that's good information. That's good intel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And it goes on all day. Eventually, people go crazy.
They do.
Just stop it.
They do. And then they go, you know what? I don't answer the door. I don't open the email. I don't care. I hit delete.
Right. And this is what happens, though. So don't send emails. Just stop it.
So if you're a boss
Yes.
and you need to have some information disseminated amongst your people, how would you go about doing that?
Let's talk about this for a second. One, there's the rhythm of business. So everybody out there, you should get daily key performance indicators as you get about your
Yes,
companies
yes,
that tell
yes.
you about the daily sales.
Yes.
If you're a pastor, the attendance of the church, whatever. And you should have a weekly staff meeting if you're a pastor or an organization or a business leader, a weekly meeting, where you meet with certain key people. And those key people need to have access to you. So those 6 people, those 5 people, whoever your key people are, they need to have access to you.
So what you're saying is that if you have 52 employees, you don't have to.
Yes.
If you email all 52, you're implying that 52 people have access to you, is what I'm hearing.
Right. And it creates this weird loop because then one of them crosses what you believe to be the boundary, which is unwritten, that states that you can't question the boss. That's what you believe. And then on that reply all,
Oh, yeah.
the person you just hired sends this email. To all who are concerned, I just want to know, is it ethical?
Is it?
Should I report this to the labor? I wasn't sure if the labor commission needed to be aware of that. Right? Is this
Right.
It happens.
Oh, it happens. I know. And I think that the main thing is that whenever you start a business and you have 1 employee, 2 employees, 3 employees, 4 employees, 5 employees, you can deal with that business a little differently. And talking with them, you should put someone in charge, and then that is your contact person. And you have a chain or an org chart. An org chart is an organizational chart of, you don't want every one of your employees to have access to you. And if you email every one of those employees, then they have access to you by definition. Because now you're saying, hey, listen, email is kind of there's an unwritten rule. If I email you, guess what? You're saying it's okay to what? Email me back.
An example, elephant in the room. If you go to eitrlounge.com and you click on Clay Clark Radio, we pay about $1,000 a month to have licensed music that I have personally chosen to play. And it's mostly R&B. If you like Prince, if you like Michael Jackson, if you like Andre 3000, you're going to like it. If you don't, you won't. We have thousands, literally thousands of people a day. You can see where they're listening to it live all around the world. They love it. They share it. But we have employees all the time that will want to update the playlist.
Uh-oh.
And I shall share with you a few of the songs that I've recently rejected.
Okay.
Do you remember the song by Danzig called Mother? Do you remember that song?
Sing a little bit for me, or play a little bit.
Okay,
of it.
well, let me. This will
Cue it
be a good one for you. Let me cue it up real quick.
Danzig named the
Here we
song's
go.
named Mother.
Cowbell.
Oh yeah, everything's better with cowbell. You know that.
Let me get to the lyrics and the chorus because you're gonna
Okay.
understand soon why I wouldn't play it.
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Mother,
Oh yeah.
tell your children not to walk my way.
Oh, I know the song. Yeah.
Tell your children not to hear my words, what they mean, what they say. Mother.
Oh yeah.
Here we go.
Oh, come on now.
Can you keep them in the dark for life? Now, Z, why would you not play this at Elephant in the Room?
You would never play that.
Why?
Because it's ridiculous. At Elephant in the Room, men getting an ultimate grooming experience don't want to hear that song.
Okay, let's do another example here. These are all songs that have been requested by my team at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me why you would not play this song in your office. Here we go.
Okay.
Wes Carter, welcome, by the way. Any mic is available, my friend. You just tell me if you would. Tell me if this would be played at your optometry clinic.
Okay.
I don't know if this is playing at Winters and King right now. I'm not sure if this is. Here we go.
Yeah. No.
Wes, do you play this at Winters and King?
That's a no.
No, we haven't done the Marilyn Manson yet.
No, that's a.
Doesn't it feel troubled already?
I feel troubled. I'm gonna go take a shower. I'll be right back.
It feels evil, does it not?
It's intense.
It has a Definitely a dark flavor.
It's intense.
But people request this stuff. So the reason why I don't make myself available to the general team via email is because this is the kind of stuff they do. They submit hey boss, could you play this song? No.
No.
But I'm dumber for having heard the request. So let's talk about email rules. Wes, we're talking about email rules.
All right.
And I would like for you, we're going to make a rule here.
Okay.
You are not going to share about any clients you've worked with in the last 2 years. So
Okay.
no one can guess who it is, okay?
right, all right.
We're going over the email rules because you're an attorney.
Yes.
And you, I'm sure of you probably more than anybody are dealing with this at this point. But we're talking about email rules, and then the show title is "Thou Shalt Not Email," and the consistent cowardice of keyboard warriors.
Oh.
So let's think about this for a second. The rules we've gone over so far. We have many rules today, but rule number 1: use email as a tool, and don't be a tool of your email.
Okay.
So you took your wife recently to go golfing, I believe. Where did you guys go?
We went to the Patriot Golf Course.
You did.
Yes.
And did you have a good time?
A wonderful time.
When you were whacking the golf balls, were you checking emails instantaneously?
I try not to.
What happens though if you seriously, if you look at an email
Yes.
and it's an urgent one? No, that's good. It's very transparent. If you look at an email and it's not a good one, what happens?
As soon as my mind switches to work mode,
There we go.
the golf game goes downhill. My special time with my wife goes downhill. All of a sudden, my mind is in work mode, and it's very difficult to get readjusted back to fun time, family time, whatever time you're in.
So again, think about this for a second. I want to show this is powerful. This is psychology. This is stuff that they don't see. These are things that the people aren't taught. Okay, so let's talk about this. What happens is when you get an email, you go into work mode. You mentioned that.
Yes.
And Psychology Today recently put out a study, and I'll put this on the show notes, is that the average person is now taking 23 minutes to come out of, to come back into golf mode.
Okay.
So after they're golfing, right, and they get an interruption, it takes them 23 minutes to come back into relaxed mode. It takes people 23 minutes to refocus.
Yes.
I'm not saying you're a psychologist, Z, but why do you think it takes people an average of 23 minutes when they're having a relaxed time or maybe they're drawing a picture, they're painting, they're golfing, they're seeing patients. Why does it take people 23 minutes to refocus when they get a negative email or interaction via their digital device?
Well, they're processing it. They're going through the solution of it. They're trying to figure out why it was sent. They're trying to figure out the motive behind it. They're trying to figure out how they're going to react to it. They're formulating the email they're going to send back. I mean, on and on and on. And that takes a while. Now, 23, I would have guessed longer than that, actually.
Does that shock you that it takes people a long time to recover mentally and to get refocused again?
Yes. No, it doesn't shock me. It hurts my little heart to think that people are out there not understanding that when you're on quality time with your wife on a we would call that a date night or a date afternoon, don't even be tempted to look, because most of the time when you get one of those negatives or you get a plea or you get a red alert or you get because somebody else it's an emergency, right?
Yes.
When you have a client, for them it's like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling.
It's a fire.
Oh, it's a fire and a flood, a fire, maybe both.
Yes.
And so you're like, it's not. This will wait till tomorrow. This will wait till later on in the afternoon when I get back in the office. This will wait. And shame on you for looking at it, right? Because now you're caught in the doom loop. Now you're caught in that loop of, I got to think about it. Oh, honey, is it my shot? I mean, where'd I?
Inc. magazine says this. Inc. magazine says it takes 23 minutes to recover from a distraction at work. Here's how to minimize emails, calls, and alerts. And it goes on to talk about this refocusing. So again, as a default, use email as a tool and don't be a tool of your email. Because man, if you turn that on during church, man, I was sitting next to a guy, went to a local, very big church, and the guy next to me pulls out, they said, pull out your app, to interact with the Bible. Every church has their own kind of app. And this guy pulls out his app. And let me tell you the one thing he never used during the service, that app. Dude, that guy was emailing. I was like, this guy's like a prophet via email. This guy's like, right. His thumbs were working. I was like, are you getting arthritis in those thumbs, buddy? I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing. I mean, when you're under 30, you got that thumb going. It was crazy.
Thumb wars.
Next rule, Z, when possible, have a quick call versus a long email. I want to get Wes's take on this. Wes, if you had a call for a client, let's say about Article 27.2, and it's just a quick question.
Yeah.
Why is a quick text or a quick call better than an email in that particular case? If it's just a quick thing.
Well, one, you can communicate clearly over phone in ways you can in email. So there's a back and forth over the phone. So if I send a question and they need to clarify or have a follow-up question, now all of a sudden we're in a chain of 6 or 7 emails. Whereas if you're on the phone, you can likely get through that in 5 minutes. And so instead of devoting 5 minutes of your time to a phone call, now you're getting interrupted and your focus is on 7 or 8 emails over the course of the next hour. And it's just oftentimes much more efficient to have a phone call.
Now, this is a stat that comes to us via Nielsen. Nielsen famously does polling as it relates to media. They said, the average American now spends 11 hours per day on their digital device, and half of that is spent on email.
Wow.
Half.
Wow.
11 hours.
11 hours a day is what we're spending now on media, and a little over half of that for the average business person is spent. Now that's a really, really large number. When you think about, again, half of your day could be I'm going to pull this up, Z. I want you to see this right here. I want you to look at it with your own eyeballs. I want you to see this article real quick. It says right here, the average American, says as time flies, U.S. adults now spend nearly half a day interacting with media. Z, does that make you sad?
It bothers me, because business isn't done over emails.
What?
It's not. Money's not made
You don't close deals via email?
on email. No.
Really? Oh.
It doesn't happen that way.
What?
And what happens is that people, and the worst part is that when people get a really negative one, negative review, negative email, something negative, and then that takes an exorbitant amount of time for them to get on there, figure out how they're going to respond, figure out the right thing to say. They may even call someone, they may even talk to someone on the response of it. I mean, you probably have had some people call you and say, hey, I've got this negative thing. How do I respond via email for it, right?
Right, yeah. I'm going to send you a draft of the email. Will you review the draft and make comments, and then we'll look at the email? I mean, it might go through 3 or 4 hands before it actually goes out the door.
Right, so they may spend 2 hours on crafting a clever email that may never be read.
Right.
And that doesn't really matter, where they can pick up the phone, make a phone call, have a short conversation, and you know what? Take care of the situation, because the problem with emails, there's no emotion in them.
Yeah.
So let's
There's no inflection. There's no voice.
I'm going to recap the rules, because you're hitting on these rules. Z is on. We have not even gone over these rules together, and this is how in sync entrepreneurs are. Z, you get this. So again, the rules so far: use email as a tool. Don't be a tool of your email. Okay. 2, when possible, have a quick call versus a long email. 3, use a professional email address. Don't have it like Randy69@AOL.com as your sod farm address. That might have been funny in high school. Come on.
Yeah.
We got to move on. Don't have hotbuns47@cowboy.com or, I mean, you can't have these weird, don't do that.
Right.
Don't have it at myspace.com. Stop it. I know that it still exists somehow because Timberlake and his guys bought it, but don't have a MySpace email. Now, the 4th is thou shalt not email as a rule. As a rule. Just make it, when possible, connect with humans. 5, don't email to deal with conflict, which you just started to hit on. Conflict.
Yeah.
Right.
Conflict. Don't email conflict. I want to go with you, Wes, then Z. Conflict. Why? If you have any conflict at all, like as an example, I wanted you to know, I regrettably have to inform you that per this email, you are in violation of code statute 723.275, and I want you to follow the script, Carl. This is an employee of yours.
Right.
And your employee probably doesn't even know that statute, that rule is in the handbook. And now you're telling them via email. How does that go over, Wes?
Well, it doesn't go over well. There's a couple of problems. One, you can't break the ice in an email. That when you first have a conversation with someone face to face, there's the hi, how are you doing? How's the weather? That that kind of you're building, you're building up, right?
Right.
And second, like Z mentioned, you can't hear the tone. You can't. It's almost impossible to diffuse a situation via email or even text. A lot of times, the result is you're escalating the situation because you can't have that emotional connection and say, hey, I hear where you're coming from, but this, or you're doing a good job here, but I really need you to work here. In an email, it's almost people focus on the negative portions of the email, and it's very hard, to bookend. You always bookend a compliment, a problem, and then a compliment. And it's hard to do that in an email effectively. So, anytime you're trying to diffuse a conflict, email is not the best course of action.
It's too direct. It's too swift. It doesn't have the nuance. There's no rapport. Now, see, the next is you don't want to correct really almost anything via email. Like if somebody spelled something wrong and you email Susie, we really need to correct the spelling. How it comes across is, Susie, we got to correct the spelling. Or if you are somebody who's north of 50, typically the all caps get stuck on sometimes. And you send that email?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever been a part of that laser show
yeah.
where someone accidentally sent it all capped?
Oh, yeah.
This happens a lot. I know people who are north of 50 who just keep all caps on as a way of life.
That's how they function.
That's how they function, or they have a weird wingding font or something going on, and they send emails, and everyone thinks they hate them all the time.
Just go to Rule 4. Stop emailing. Stop emailing, especially when you have conflict. As Wes said, as Clay has said, you get no inflection, you get no traction. It all it does is add, and then they sit there, and here's what they do: they reread it over
And over
and over
and over,
and they catch your typo. They catch you shouldn't put a comma there. They catch all those, if they're older, they catch all those nuances, and then that's the fight. The fact that you don't even know how to do proper English.
Move 7. Move 7. Don't try to connect with people via email. As an example, instead of getting together and let's have a beer. Z, we've been to what's your restaurant you like? It's the Owl. Is it the Owl?
White Lion.
White Lion. I knew there was an animal involved. White Lion. We go there. Can you explain the decor of the White Lion?
It's like an old English pub.
Why would you want to go to such a place?
Because I feel good there.
And they have cheese.
They have cheese trays. They have
Some
English
fish and chips.
style food.
Have you been there before?
Chips.
I have.
Yes, it's a fun place.
I go to the White Lion. This is what I tell you. I went to White Lion. I've been there 3 times. All 3 with Z. I go there one time, and we're meeting with some radio executive people.
Okay.
And you ordered a really nice spread of cheese.
Yes.
And you had
accoutrement.
Accoutrement. Yeah, some wine with it.
Yes.
And I go back to the restroom, and this guy says, "Do you know Dr. Z? You know Dr. Z?" And I said, "Yeah, I know Dr. Z," because he's a waiter up there.
Oh, okay.
And he's kind of like, "You know Dr. Z?" Because I think you're kind of a big deal in his mind. He goes, "You know Dr. Z?" I said, "Yeah." And he knows we're not the same age, so he's like, "Well, how do you know Dr. Z?" I said, "We do a radio show together and some things." And he says, "When he plays soccer, he's intense, dude." That's what he says.
What?
I'm serious. And I
What
said,
in the
I know,
world?
when was the last time you played competitive, intense soccer? How many years ago?
It's been a couple 3.
So
I
he's
mean,
like,
I played Old Man's League indoor.
now, I want to ask you if this is true. I'll ask you on the show right now.
Okay.
And we're on the record.
All right.
Have you ever been intense with a referee that made a bad call?
Yes,
Well
I
played.
have.
So this is what he says. He's like, he's intense with referees. I mean, he's seriously, dude. You know him? He's like, he's intense. I said, thanks for the update. And he goes, is he like that to work with? I said, no, he's a really nice guy. He's like, well, I hear with the referees, he's intense.
He's a tit.
Now, let me say this. If I had emailed you an email, assuming that you read it,
Oh, yes.
and said, I met a guy last night at the White Lion who said that you are intense in soccer and that you might or might not have gone off at a ref. Is that true? ? 1, there would be no rapport. 2, it's a stupid thing, a waste of your time.
Right.
3, it might cause you to go, dude, that referee is always been a jerk to me.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
That referee was a former patient who was mad about the prices. There's probably a story to it. And then now we go back and forth, but instead I asked you directly, and you were like, well, yeah, I play soccer, and occasionally I get really into it, and that's just what I do. And you played at the college level.
Right.
And it's your passion, and I get it. But I'm saying sending an email would not have been a good way to have that conversation.
No, it never is. I mean,
It never is.
There's a few business things. Hey, I've got to email this to get it digitally signed. I've got to do this. This is the latest, your closing. This is your closing report. I mean, there's other things you could do the email that are business, but they're not having nothing to do with personal.
It gets crazy. Wes, you had a hot take.
Well, I was going to say there's 2 comments real quick. There's a flip side to this too, which is when you're dealing on a professional level, sometimes people try to make a joke over email, and
You guys are reading my notes. This is impressive.
They bomb, and someone's like, "Why aren't you taking me seriously?"
This is a true story. that's happened it's years back. I'm not saying anything recent, but I want to share with you. I would like for you
Okay.
to please help me here because this happened, and thankfully I didn't have to call you about this.
Okay.
When you talk, there's a talk to text feature where you can talk Z and it transcribes what you're saying.
Oh yeah.
And people use
That's
that
a new
now
move.
to email while they're driving.
Right.
So a guy sends a text to a member of my team. This is back. There's an email to a member. This is like 2000 maybe 9. Early, might make your life epic. My first probably 40 clients early on. And Z, you don't have to guess what it was. This is kind of a quiz show here, Wes. He meant to. It was like early transcribed text kind of stuff. It might have been 2011, 12. It wasn't super recent, but it was early enough where you could transcribe stuff. And it said, I really appreciate you. You're very sharp and articulate, and you had beautiful shoes. Something like that. We had great. He's trying to compliment her shoes, okay? He's a young guy trying to compliment one of our new team members about her shoes. He's like, you have great shoes. But it didn't transcribe as that.
Uh-oh.
And it goes across the bow. Woo!
Uh-oh.
And within seconds, he replies, I meant shoes. Now, it's kind of funny because I'm at 16th in Boston at this point. I'm downtown, and we knew each other well enough.
Okay.
And this lady who's, like her 40s, she says, late 30s, she says, some guy just texted me on the team or emailed me that I have beautiful, not shoes, but it rhymes with. And then he sent me this back. But how do you want me to handle that?
And what did you tell her?
I was like, and I looked at her face and she just starts laughing. And she was like, I know it messed up, whatever, but now it's awkward. Can we go? So we got together, the three of us, and I'm like, hey, I know you didn't mean to say whatever. But Wes, what would have happened if that person did not view it that way? If they were offended by it, what could happen?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of potential. I mean, that's.
It was bad. I was like, no.
Sexual harassment. Is that her manager? I mean, we'd gotten into all kinds of fun conversations about that.
It happened.
Is it the threshold of sexual harassment without her saying that's offensive to me and please don't do that again, or is it just the first pass makes it sexual harassment?
I think it depends on how egregious it is. I mean,
it's a beautiful, and it meant to say shoes. It rhymes with. It was not shoes. True story. And I just remember going,
as a boss, I mean, because now you have two employees doing this. Let's say he is a supervisor of her. Let's just go that scenario, okay? And he says that he's doing the voice thing and does it. He's driving in his car and, hey, Teresa, I just want to comment, doing a great job. And, oh, by the way, you had beautiful shoes. You had beautiful shoes. And then he sends immediately back, oh, my gosh, I meant shoes. As a boss, and let's say that comes to me.
Yes.
And two of my employees have this, and they come to me. How does a boss handle that?
I think you admonish the person sending the text saying, hey, you need to be more careful. You make sure everybody's on the same page that was not the intention here. This was an auto-correct feature, so you can get that on the table. And you're right. Sexual harassment is usually unwanted advances, and, it's tied to some favor at work or some adverse thing at work. But there's also hostile work environment, which means even without that, if you're in an environment where that happens regularly or too much, then, it could support some sort of hostile work environment claim. So, I think that one's one of the easier ones. But what happens if that guy doesn't catch it? And it just it lays out there.
And
for
it was
a week.
like a laugh out loud thing where I was like,
No, this is
I was worried.
This is the real stuff that's happening out there in the real world.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
And so he says that and he's driving, doesn't even double check it.
Yep.
Right.
Doesn't go back and do it. Okay.
Right.
Now, is it her responsibility then to raise the red flag and say don't do it? Because now all of a sudden, let's say she all of a sudden gets involved in it, and they go back and forth a little bit about her shoes. Not shoes. Okay.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, a year later,
They're offended. They're no longer together. They're not talking.
Her work, goes down.
Yes.
And she gets released from the business. And then all of a sudden she goes, oh, by the way, my boss has been telling me for the last 3 months or the last 6 months ago how good my quote unquote shoes look. I'm suing you for sexual harassment. I mean, so where is the boss as the person that's
This is good.
buck stops with me?
Right.
Where now all of a sudden does that? How do I get involved in that? First, if you don't know about it, you can't.
Right.
But then again, it's kind of like if they're involved in this back and forth silliness, because that's what it is silliness,
Yes.
right? At what point do you have to take it serious? Because now all of a sudden she's fired. Now she's mad. She finds an attorney, which I know is not you, Wes, but there's some of them out there that would look at those text messages and says, oh my gosh, your boss is telling you that we know it's not shoes, but we'll continue to say
shoes.
I'm
Shoes.
doing
For FCC
quotes,
purposes, yes.
I'm doing air quotes shoes.
Yeah.
And it
By
wasn't
the way, the most sincere guy ever who's super nice guy. He doesn't work for anymore, but just like a choir boy. It was like, you know what I mean? If you got an email from a guy like that, you'd be like,
Well, choir boys can appreciate shoes also. Okay, so
Yeah.
as a boss,
Yes.
now all of a sudden you get a shakedown letter from an attorney.
Yeah.
All right, you know nothing of this, right? It's back and forth between these two. She gets released. She's mad, finds an attorney. You get a shakedown letter saying that she's been hostile work environment, sexually harassed. She's got text messages to prove it. How do you handle that?
Well, I think there's no good way to handle it at that point. You're going to have to defend the claim, report it to your insurance, go through the whole process. The way to handle it's up front. So, one, hopefully you have some sort of sexual harassment policy so you can point to the fact, hey, you were obligated to report this if it happened. You
On her end.
Right. You should have let us know. We
Okay.
can't address it 2 years later.
Okay.
But one of the dangers there is she claims or he claims later on, I felt obligated to participate. So he says that it's an accident and turns into a little bit of a flirty conversation, you know, going back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
oh,
And
yeah.
then someone plays the victim later on saying, well, they were my manager or supervisor. I felt I was intimidated. I felt like I had to participate in the
Right.
conversation.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
so, I mean, as soon as you hear of any banter like that, you really have to nip it in the bud because everyone's having a good time and joking around till they get fired and they're looking for a reason to come after you.
Right. It's all fun and games till someone gets poked in the eye, right?
Exactly.
Right, exactly. So, business owners, you're listening out there, sometimes you get blindsided. I have been that business owner before.
Not fun.
Of two employees that starts off some harmless, maybe a voice message that got whatever, and then turns into this, you know, whatever you call that.
Right.
You know, flirtations or whatever. And then, of course, she says, well, he was above me in the org chart, so I felt obligated. I mean, all
Oh,
that
yeah.
weirdness then plays into part.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to report him because, you know, I didn't want to be targeted.
I was afraid of retaliation.
I was afraid of retaliation. And now all of a sudden you've got a hot mess on your hand, and these things happen. So here again, it goes back to just don't email.
No, it all comes back. And the reason why I'm hitting on this because some people out there are in a situation, unlike you and me, Z, where they have to email because they're in a culture where their boss will not listen to this show. Their boss is dysfunctional, and their boss spends their entire day emailing. And some people are in a situation where you can control it. And so I'm trying to get both sides of the kind of the rules here.
Sure.
So rule number 8, if you're scoring at home, the rule number 8 is don't email humor. Just try to stay out of there. It's hard enough to deliver it in person, but just stop. 9, don't hit send unless you want to read it again. Now, this is something I've done. It's a move. If I want to know who's a spy, I will send something in confidence that doesn't matter. So, Wes, this is a move. You know, you'll go, hey, let's keep this private, it's something that doesn't even matter. It'd be like, we're going to be moving the desks around soon. We're going to change not the org chart, but the way we're organizing the floor plan.
The feng shui.
And I just want to make sure we don't tell this coder or any of the other coders because I don't want to create a dystopia. I don't want to create any friction right now. They're doing a great job coding. I just don't want to tell them. Let's keep them focused. And then I'll send it just to see who on my team is going to send this to the coders. So then the next day, coders are like, oh,
What? You're moving my desk?
what in the world? Are we moving our desk? Why wasn't I told? For crying out loud. What is going on?
on
So you
here?
go to the digital mole and you say, hey, did you send the email? No. That's a good way to check for a mole. But if you hit
digital mole.
seriously, but if you hit send, you're gonna read it again. Are you not, Wes?
Absolutely. I mean, one, if it's professional, you should be reading it for typos, you know, anyway, because you get going, you want to read it. But also you want to recheck the tone, how it's going to be received by the other person, because sometimes you write an email and when you read it back, it sounds harsh even to yourself. You're like, I should reword that a little bit. So yes, you definitely want to check it twice or 3 times before you hit send, because once it's out there, you're not getting it back.
And Clay, I'm going to go back to the Ocho. I'm going to go back to the humor.
Let's do it, yeah.
The more times than not.
And the whole thing about the beautiful shoes, by the way, is that just to get the story, this woman was very conservative and never wore bright shoes. And she wore these really bright red shoes with high heels.
Oh, yeah.
And she never does that.
Sure.
And so it was
That
kind of a
doesn't
joke.
mean you have to say something about them.
But he sends the email, hey, great, whatever, thank you so much, and you had beautiful shoes. And it's a joke that everybody who was there would say, oh, that was funny, I get it, ha-ha.
Right.
But it did not come across that way. And let me tell you, it branded him as a weirdo in the office. And I felt bad. But ultimately, the reason why he had to leave, he pulled me aside about 6 months and he's like, it's just too awkward. Like, like everyone thinks I sent that and I didn't mean it that way. And it was just awkward. And so I helped him find another job, but it was awkward.
It was awkward. And going back to Ocho, number 8, going back a step, on the humor, more times than not, it's an image. It's a picture of something.
An emoji.
That you think
meme.
is super funny.
Oh.
And yet someone sees that and is super offended or not.
It's always a political thing. It's always an
Or-
anti-Obama, anti-Trump,
or
kind of Charlie
something-
Sheen, super
or
sexual.
something about
kinda,
a bowel movement or something
There it
weird.
is.
I mean, and it's just like, it's a picture, an image. It's a cat video that's inappropriate.
Hey, did you see?
I mean,
Did you go? I know you didn't, but I'm going to ask anyway. Did you see Adam Sandler in concert live?
Oh, stop it.
This is a true story.
Stop.
Did you see him, Wes?
No, I've not seen him live.
Concert live with the.
He has
is that a movie or
no?
or
Listen,
just
he
live?
performed at the casino live here on the Riverwalk.
Okay.
Vanessa got me tickets. It was amazing. He gets out there and he's like, "All right." It starts off as, "Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Sandler will be out first, but before he begins, we have other people who he's friends with who are contractually bound to be here." So
You're right.
the first guy coming, there are guys who cannot get a gig now. So it's like Norm Macdonald, and I guess Adam is a way to keep these guys relevant.
Yeah.
Features them in his movies with his Netflix deal.
Oh, yeah.
And they travel with him.
Sure.
So he's like, "Hey, I'm Norm Macdonald. I didn't have a lot going on, so I came out here tonight and I got a couple jokes." And he pulls out like a notepad or something. And he's like, "Joke 1." And he tells it and it doesn't work. And he's like, "I got 2 more. Joke number 2." Now, you had to be there, folks. And he does 2. 2's pretty funny. 3rd comes out and it's like, woo, Norm Macdonald. 3rd guy comes, there's that next guy. It's Rob Schneider. And he's like, "Tulsa, you can do it." And everyone's going, woo. And he's like, guys, listen, you know how sad it is that my entire career can be summed up by that phrase?
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm actually a good actor. Like, did you guys see me in such films as?" And no one's seen like any show he's in. He
yeah.
knows it.
Oh, yeah.
Or what about my key, character actor? And no one's seen it. And he's like,
No.
"You
No
can
one
do
cares.
it." So he comes out. Well, David Spade comes out.
Oh, yeah.
And he, I don't know if he is high or he pretends to be high. He probably was high, but he pretended to be high. He comes out there and he's like, "Hey, Tulsa, Joe Dirt, thanks for making it possible." And everyone's like, "Is he insulting us?"
What did you say?
And he's like, the only thing I regret about coming to Tulsa was the trip, the connecting flight, and just being here. And he looks like he's being high and kind of attacking the crowd. And I don't remember what he goes, "And I did send a regrettable text to Adam." It's a comedy show, so you can say whatever. But he has sent a picture of his stuff to Adam Sandler. And so Sandler, he's like, "So anyway, Adam, I'm sorry, but we're all cool, right?" And he walks
we're
off,
all- yeah,
and
of
everyone's
course.
like, what
What just happened?
So now Sandler comes out, and he's like, "Guys, here's the deal. David and I have a complicated relationship, but he texts me when he needs me. He's one of my good friends, and he sends me about every 5th or 6th text, or every once a week, he'll send me a picture of that." just to test our circle of trust.
Just to make
just
sure
to
I'm
see
paying
if I
attention.
report him, just to
Yeah.
see if we're still in union. And he's like, "It's just, I don't want to see it, David. Stop it." And David comes back, guys, "Hey, I just sent you something." And then Adam's like, you do that, but I have to check it because it could be about our flights. It could be about our next performance. I have to check it. Stop doing
I've
it.
got to look.
And so for them, that kind of stuff is okay. But a moment, if those guys
Because
had
it's
a
an act. Part of that, you didn't realize that's an act.
I realize it's an act, but also if you look up the character of the dudes he hangs out with, their whole life is a little crazy. Like,
yeah.
like
Well,
Russell
sure.
Brand. I mean, if you look up the things he's done, I mean, a little
Crazy.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is like that. I mean, think about Antonio Brown, the craziness that guy lives in. You got to. So again, this goes to text. This goes to email, but specifically email. Don't send the email as a rule. Just don't.
Just don't.
Now, the next move number 10. Nothing is confidential, even if it says the privacy policy.
Yes.
So let's get into that, Wes. Let's talk, because legally I can't share it, right? Legally you shouldn't share it, but someone's going to share it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't stop them from sharing it. You can sue them and try to get damages later if you want to spend $30,000 to go after a person that probably doesn't have money to pay you after
There
you
we go.
win. But yeah, you got to remember any kind of confidentiality agreement, non-disclosure agreement, sometimes it's just a piece of paper, and that's all it's good for. So do not ever rely on those to ensure that sensitive information or comments you want to make that you wouldn't want the public to read in a newspaper, those kinds of things. Don't ever rely on
This
that.
one's
to keep
fairly
those
recent.
out.
This is about 7 years ago. One member of our team sent an email, maybe 8 years ago. This is a good one, Z. It says, hey, I just want you guys to know this particular designer does terrible work. And the word rhymed with ship, does shipping work, does not do great work. This person does ship work.
Oh,
and I do not want to,
nautical.
and I don't want them touching my files again. Exclamation point. Send. And their email, when they started typing their name, I guess it filled in their name. So they sent it to the person on the team they didn't want to send it to.
Oh, yeah. That's a move.
That didn't go well.
That's a move.
And that's only happened like once a year as a way to remind me that I'm alive. Every year since emails come out, it's constant. We had one employee on my team back in the DJ business. The whole thing it's not HR compliant, but the move was this guy was a youth pastor, okay? And he's a nice guy. And he would occasionally get on Facebook during the day, and one of my employees working for me was a manager, and he was like 22, 23, okay? So imagine you're a youth pastor, you're almost 30, and you DJ on the side. He comes to work, and he's on Facebook, which he shouldn't be, and the manager was mad at him. Crazy story. This is real stuff, though. So the manager would log into his Facebook page occasionally and post things like, Dear family, I regret to inform you that I'm wasting time at work. Send. And then everyone would see it on Facebook, and the guy realized that this guy doesn't check his own Facebook posts. So the next couple weeks, and he comes to me, he's like, Clay, I can't get this person to stop going on Facebook. What do I do? And I said, just write him up. And again, kind of an immature manager. I was probably not the best boss at the time. And he says, okay, I'll write him up. And it just keeps happening. So about 4 or 5 weeks in, they're physically almost fighting, and Vanessa had to break him up. Like one guy had a chair, and he was like, I'm going to hit you. And I'm like, what's going on? Well, apparently he wrote like a 2-page Facebook post that announced to his family that he was gay. He's a youth pastor.
And his friend's just doing it to deviling.
Yes, because he's on Facebook. So he just logs in and says, Dear family, I regret to inform you as a youth pastor for the last 4 years, I have been living a dual life, and he just 2 pages.
Oh, wow.
And he hit send. This would be like in 2004, 2005, whatever it was. And the guy doesn't check his Facebook. He just goes there to post, but he doesn't see what people are writing. Well, by the time his wife calls him at the office, this is like when cell phones were kind of still not super popular. Everybody in the church has formulated an opinion. The pastor has called for his resignation. I mean, it's like, and it's funny now because it's so far off, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't then.
And it's probably still not now, but it was crazy.
Yeah.
And these guys are like fighting. He's like, you see what he did? And they're going, and again, I say nothing is confidential. You got to be careful with even keeping your email account open.
Yeah.
Because your Facebook, this is millennial jokes all the time. I see millennials do this to each other all the time. We have a lot of millennials in our office. I see this constantly. Well, they will, if you leave your phone out and it's unlocked, I see other employees that have done, usually every 4 or 5 months, someone will go on Instagram and post something crazy and make it look like it's being posted from them, or will email their contacts something crazy. I've seen this crap happen a lot. And it's kind of like practical jokes. In college, this is a practical joke. But if you're a young employee, you're 25, it's not a joke anymore. Zay, talk to me about just confidential of the email. Because if someone could send an email from your account and make it look like it's from you if you're not careful and get you in trouble. People play those games.
We had a big shock at one of my businesses about 3 months ago at my auto auction business.
Shaka Khan.
And it's always the guy that acts like he's the most tech savvy, right? It's always that guy that falls into the hole. I mean, it's Murphy's Law. It's whatever you want to call it, right?
He's the most tech savvy.
So what they do is, it's nefarious, but they send out these emails to get you to click on so they can put a worm or a virus into your system.
There we go.
To hold you hostage. They come and take over your data, download your data, get the information from your banking account, your people that you're doing business with, and then they send you an email. I've got all your stuff held hostage. I've got you, and now pay me some exorbitant amount, and I'll release it to you and never bother you again. That's the move, right?
Yeah.
Right, Wes?
Yeah.
I mean, you see it all the time.
Yes.
But what it takes is somebody on your team to click on that email that they send. They send it trickery. They send it like, hey, you just won, or hey, you been
All it
selected.
takes is a member of your team to log on to that bad boy.
Or what they do is they hack into somebody else's.
Yeah.
And then from that somebody else.
Here we go.
That sends emails out. So you look and you go, oh, it's from Betty Sue, and Betty Sue's a good friend of mine, and Betty Sue's always sending me good cat videos. So I'm going to click on this and see today's cat video,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And they click on it. Next thing you know, here's the virus into the business because now
Uh-oh.
they're at work, which I know is crazy that they're in their personal email at work.
No. Really?
Because personal and business email, we're going to use it for the same thing, right? So, so then they click on it. Next thing you know, it's on your servers at business. We caught it quickly. We were able to stop it before it got to the point of bad, and we lost a day's worth of data because we'd shut it down, just clear out that day,
Yeah.
and then go back where a hard set was. But it's some serious stuff.
Not good. Now here's email. I have three final email tips here for everybody, and I'm going to go with Z, then Wes, then back to Z.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. And by the way, if there's any final email tips you guys would like to share, feel free to do that. We put a bow on it. But here we go.
Okay.
Tip 11: watch for passive aggressive people. Watch for passive aggressive email poets. Watch for these passive aggressive email people. These people who are kind of wordsmiths. And if you read the email, you can sense the dissension starting, and they sent it via email. So, as an example, I remember one guy sent me an email years ago. This was the email. It said, as a Christian boss, I am glad to see that you only cursed twice in today's meeting, and I would like to bring up 2 concerns I have about the culture. Reply all. Sent to many people. Here we go.
Here we go.
I was never acknowledged in the meeting for my feedback about the product development. And 2, a core decision was made while I was skiing. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And if you're somebody who doesn't like emails like myself and you are quick to delete them, like done, you don't see something they don't have the courage to say to your face occurring via email. You see what I'm saying? Because people are more courageous via email. Have you noticed that? They're kind of a little more poetic, a little more courageous, a little bit more
crafty.
a little more crafty, a little more keyboard warrior. Keyboard warrior. I might be in person, kind of a little meek, but the keyboard warrior. Can you talk to me about looking for those passive-aggressive poets where you go, oh, wow, this person just quit mentally right now. They're saying to my face they're all in, but this right here, I can see that this is, you know what I mean? You've seen this before, the beginning of the end.
I see this all the time, and I had a person who owns a business, 50-50 partners with somebody else, and they wanted to continue having face-to-face meetings and dealing with the day-to-day of the business, and their partner said, oh, no, we're not going to have those anymore. Everything needs to be done via email. I'm not going to have any more meetings with you, because they can get a little heated. We can maybe argue at them. I don't know that we remember everything that's said. I didn't really say it that way, and you're quoting me differently now. And so from here on out, every meeting we're going to have, every communication we're going to have is via email.
This just did.
And it's really a sad situation because now all of a sudden you've gone to this. So now 6-7 email blasts back and forth. Now most of the emails are centered around, taking one little thing that was said and spending a whole email on proving how that wasn't correct.
Bullet point.
Or misspelled, or did you really mean this? All the passive-aggressive stuff you can do while you're at home having a glass of wine on your laptop.
And I see this
just
with
ripping it
attorneys.
back and
I haven't
forth.
seen this with you as much, but I've just seen this with attorneys. I say as much. I haven't seen this at all with Wes, but I see this with attorneys where a client will come in and go, my attorney sucks. I'm like, your attorney sucks? Why do they suck? Look at this email. It'll have like one error and like a massive, very articulate.
Right.
And attorneys, by the way, are humans. And if it's like a 25-page document and the word "and" instead of "a" or whatever it is, if the word "the" is omitted, you know what I mean, Z? It's like one error. People go, it's unprofessional. So I want to go into to tip 12.
Okay.
Be beyond the bait. Be beyond the bait. Here's the bait. And I'm sure this has never happened to you, just other attorneys. I thought you were more professional. What are we paying for if you're going to spell something wrong? I'm sure you've never had this kind of conversation. But you know what I mean? You're working with a dentist or a lawyer, maybe a dentist, a doctor, some professional, and you spell one thing wrong, and that's what they go for.
And that's what they focus on.
The message was, we're asking you a critical thing. Hey, we need to make a decision on this. The clock is ticking. We must make a decision because of this litigation, this thing. And they respond, I thought it was more professional. I've lost confidence. I'll need to review this. You ever had that, Wes?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I make mistakes sometimes. You know,
No.
you miss typos, you do those things. My favorite though is probably when you're dealing with other attorneys, and so this is a move you see sometimes.
Oh, here we go.
The passive aggressive. So you'll have a 30-page document. You know, we're doing a $20 million purchase agreement, and the other side will send it to their attorney for comments, and the comments come back with optional grammar corrections. So you should have had a semicolon and not a comma there, or
Optional.
I don't think, you know, I think you want to not just put S, but you need to put parentheses around the S in case it's singular or plural. And that's when we attorneys say to our clients, that's just an attorney trying to earn their hourly billing because they couldn't find anything else to point out and they wanted to justify their existence.
There it is.
But that's a good way, you know, or instead of, you know, reaching out and calling the other side as a colleague and saying, hey, I think you just got a typo here. It says 2018. It should be 2019. You point that out in an email to the bank, the attorneys, all the clients, just to say, hey, in case you forgot what year it is, it's 2019. So you might want to get your stuff straight. You know?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
The
And
silliness.
and if you fall into the bait, now you're going back and forth.
Yes.
Be beyond that. Now, the tip 13, Z, stop manic emailing.
Mm.
You know, where you're clearly out of control. And you're just sending emails over and over and over. And this is what I see in my inbox virtually every Monday. Hey, I noticed an error on my website. Trust me, I know. Listen to this. I built your website 10 years ago. Okay, I built your site in 2008, 9, 7, 8, 9, whatever year it was. You're not a client. You live in Florida. I know. There's this error on your site. They'll say, there's an error on the site, and I need this fixed. Well, I don't know who you're hosting your site with, whatever. So this is sent usually Friday, like at, let's say, 5:30.
Mm.
Then at Friday at 5:45, hey, I expect a response. This is my whole business we're dealing with here. Saturday morning, hey, look, buddy, this is my third email. Unprofessional. Saturday at noon. Come on, man. Now little curse words work their way. And you've always been a Sunday morning. This is the email. I see this all the time. It's so funny. I found the passwords. My bad. They're in Dropbox, like you said. I'm sorry. I see this all the time. I see this manic arc of like crazy, Arjun, I'm good.
And I'm good.
Do you see this, Wes? I mean, do you see this, Z? Z, talk to me about this.
Yeah.
You do. You see that.
Oh.
And that's the thing about it is people, for some reason, they want to send to you while they're processing what it is they need to do. And I'm not sure about if they spent the time on going to Dropbox and getting the password and fixing it themselves, they would have never had to do that.
I can't log on to Facebook. I need the password. I still can't log on. I can't find it. Oh, I found it.
Oh, I had the caps lock on. Sorry.
I didn't have it. Yes.
Oops.
and why that is, Clay, is something that we need. It's something that needs to be eradicated, something that needs to be exterminated, something that needs to be fixed, and that's why we do the show.
That's why we do this. That's why we do the show. And I'm going to read for you.
And if we help one person eradicate it, we've done our job.
I'm going to read notable quotables from very successful people, and then Z, I'll give the floor to you, and then to Wes, and we'll put a little bow on today's show. So here we go. Bill Belichick, when asked about his social media, his email, his Facebook, just his digital device, how he handles it, he said, I don't Twitter, I don't MyFace, and I don't Yearbook. Thank you, Bill Belichick. 6 NFL championships to you on the Patriots and 2 with you on the Giants for a total of 8. He's doing well. Tim Ferriss, best-selling author of The 4-Hour Work Week, writes, true freedom is much more than having enough income. It's about having time to do what you want. Mm-hmm. Well, if you have all the money in the world, but you sit there and like spend your whole day, even on the beach, emailing all day, do you really have time freedom? I mean, no.
You don't.
Tim Ferriss also says, doing something unimportant well does not make it important.
I like that one.
I see a lot of people who get their inbox down to 0 and they respond to every email. So I'll just tell you with my life, and I'll turn it over to Z. I had a listener, again, I'm trying to give you old examples, ones that are longer than 2 years ago so I don't get myself in trouble. Wes, what's the statute for verbally sharing too much candor on a radio show? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? Is it 7? Is it 12?
We should probably go like 5 to be safe.
Okay, we'll go
5. That's good. That's good.
I couldn't do it for the show. Okay, I can do one. Okay, here we go. When I did public speaking years ago, I used to travel around speaking, and I did a speaking event for a major company, Fortune 500 company, And the event planner who booked me, Anitra, said it's the best event we had in a long time. Thank you. It was at Caesar's Palace. She said it was a great event. And she was very happy. Paid very well. It was about a $10,000 event. Great. It's probably 200 people there. Good job. One woman sent me an email that said something like, you preaching about the importance of, running checklists and systems. We're not a bunch of robots. You're just a jerk. And, big old one. But I got all these thank yous from people. I got claps.
Oh, yeah.
But I got one email.
Oh, sure.
And
You couldn't stand it.
Well, actually, I was to a place in my life, at this point in my life, I got to a place where I didn't care, okay? So I just hit delete. But back to my DJ career, which my DJ career, most of it didn't happen on social media, but there was a website called theknot.com. And theknot.com was kind of like a review site for wedding businesses, or like Wedding Wire, that kind of thing. And people would write on there, best DJ ever. The people who paid me would always say, I love the DJ, because I always, my rule was I'd meet with the bride and groom, clarify their expectations, and as long as the bride or the person paying me was happy, I was happy.
Sure.
But as you know, when you're DJing, this is what happens at every show. Hey, man, I'll tell you what, I used to DJ back in college. What kind of speakers you got?
Sure.
Well, I got,
JBL.
Well, I'll tell you what, Sherwin Vega, that's the only real thing out there. You trying to save some money or what? Because I can feel the sound quality. Well, do you have a request? Well, absolutely. I want to play Garth Brooks, The Dance. I'm like, The Dance? Yeah, well, the bride wanted us to keep it kind of upbeat. No country on the list, she said. Well, I'll tell you what, you play The Dance.
Play the dance.
Well, the bride is the one paying me. She said, don't play the dance. Wow, you ain't going to play the dance? No, I'm not going to play the dance. Now, they're getting these people who've had like 7 beers because it's like 11 o'clock at night at a wedding.
Oh, sure.
They're from out of town.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're pretty emboldened. Or the lady would come up and go, could you play Dolly Parton, I Will Always Love You, because that's the better version than Whitney. Man, we've already played it once for you via request. But could you play it again?
Please.
Wait, really? So then they would go on to Wedding Wire or The Knot and just complain. And I used to, as a young man, I felt the need to respond to every complaint tactfully. So I would be like at 2 a.m. after I got a round of applause and a tip going, Karen, the bride wanted to play No Country, and that's why we didn't. Thank you for your feedback. I appreciate you. Carl, thank you for the intensity and the directness of your passion for Garth Brooks. And unfortunately, the bride requested no Garth Brooks, and it would never get done because you're DJing for 200 people, 4 of which felt the need to write a comment almost every show.
Every show.
And then you have no time freedom. So I learned as a default, thou shalt not email, thou shalt not comment, just get out of here.
You're right. And the thing about it is, I don't know why, and Wes could probably answer this, why people would say what they would say in an email and never, ever say it to your face. That's the thing that gets me, is that people will call you out, they'll criticize you, they'll fuss at stuff, they'll try to, give that passive aggressive lesson.
Oh,
of life.
wow.
Yeah.
See, another intro coming in.
Another
Z.
passive aggressive intro by Clay.
Wow.
And they'll do that behind their keyboard, and then they hit send, finish their beer, and go to bed and think they did a really good thing. And yet it leaves a trail.
Yeah.
It leaves a mark. And if you were dumb enough to read it, I just hit delete anymore. It's kind of like, if it's important, they'll come back, circle back around, they'll call me, they'll get to me somehow or another if it's super important, But I always kind of question, they go, why did they, is it a release for them? They feel like, okay, I've released it, I've said my piece, and that's good, and now I can go to bed. I mean, why are they doing that, Clay? I mean, Wes?
Well, I think part of it's a little cathartic. I think some of it, though, is just lack of courage. I find at my office sometimes, someone will tear into my assistant, who's usually female, just tear into her. I mean,
Are they usually younger ladies, like maybe 35 or under-ish?
Well, it's a mixture. I think.
Just trying to get a make and model of a typical assistant.
No, they vary in age.
Okay.
But for some reason,
female.
They feel comfortable just to tear into them. You're horrible. You dropped the ball. You're a piece of work. Horrible service. So I pick up the phone and call them, and they're like, "Oh, Attorney Carter, how are you doing today? I'm so happy you called."
Attorney Carter.
They're just overflowed with
sure
ooey gooiness, and I'm like, "Well, I'm calling because you called my assistant 3 curse words in an email, a little bit earlier, and I wanted to see what the problem was." "Oh, there's no problem. That was just."
Cowboy talk.
I was in a bad mood, and I'm like, okay, well, if that ever happens again, we're not going to be representing you, and that's not acceptable. and all of a sudden they're crab walking backwards and backwards. So
Oh yeah.
I think you get the courage that you don't have to look anybody in the eye. You don't have to worry about someone retorting and firing back at you, and you just get a little bit extra courage than you do looking at someone in the eye and talking to them.
I have a friend of mine. What they do is when they're crafting one of those kind of emails, they don't hit send, and they don't hit. It's not actually addressed to the person they're going to send it to.
Yeah.
They address it to themselves in case they actually do hit send.
That's a wise move.
In a moment of whatever. And then they sleep on it. They get up the next day with a fresh mind, fresh look, reread it. 9 times out of 10, they won't send it.
Yep.
Or they may change it substantially to tone it down and really make a point that maybe needs to be made without all the extra energy that they have right then because they're so mad.
Napoleon Hill taught me something years ago in one of his books. He was talking about, the best-selling author, talking about if you have something really intense to say, as a general rule, write it by the water's edge. Mm-hmm. And if you can find it in the morning when the tide comes in, you should say it to the person. So it's kind of obviously, if you put it on the water's edge, the tide comes in, it's gone.
It's gone.
And so I don't live near a body of water by that, but I've done this at least probably 50 times. I'll write something out with pen to get it out, and I'll set it on fire. And usually in the morning, I'm like, what was I even thinking? And I have done every time.
Yeah.
I have made mistakes, but I do want to share 2 final little nuggets, and Wes, I'll give you the floor to wrap it up here. Gretchen Rubin, best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author, has been on Oprah multiple times. Kind of a happiness expert, studies what makes people happy, what makes people upset. She writes, turn off your email. Turn off your phone. Disconnect from the internet. Figure out a way to set limits so you can concentrate when you need to, and then disengage when you need to. Technology is a good servant, but a bad master. T. Boone Pickens, who recently passed away, he writes, to me, emails are a little bit frustrating. I think that the telephone is much preferred because you get the sound of the voice and the interest and everything else that you can't in an email. And again, I could give you notable quotables all day, but the world's most successful people clearly are in favor of sending less emails than the average person, and when sending them, being more thoughtful about them. What would be your final advice today as we're sharing with 13 hard rules for effectively managing your email, and specifically thou shalt not email being the main rule?
Well, as a good attorney, I'm going to insert here one caveat, exception, exclusion. Because sometimes, in my profession, some of the,
you're an attorney.
I'm an attorney.
Yeah.
Contractor, something, you're sending an email because you want a record of it. And so the retort or the response from a listener is going to be, well, I want to make sure I can go back and prove it later that I notified them or that, whatever happened. So the move is have the phone call.
There we go.
Follow up with a short email. You get all the benefits of a phone call, the repertoire,
per our conversation.
Right. Exactly. I'm just following up on our phone call. We discussed that you will be the one taking care of this, period. You don't have to worry. You've gotten all of it out. You've sorted it out, but you can still make that record later on down the road if you need to.
This is good.
So that's kind of a little move to get the best of both worlds.
Well, Wes, we like to end each and every show with a boom. Are you psychologically prepared for a boom?
I am ready.
If you're out there, and Wes, you can edit what I'm going to say here. You can say you can't say that, or you can throw in the caveat here. I know that everybody out there, if you own a business, statistically it is very probable, likely, almost a certainty, if you're doing more than $1 million a year of gross revenue, you will get sued at some point or have a legal entanglement. Am I off?
No, it's highly likely.
Okay, Z, do you agree with that? If you are doing more than $1 million a year of revenue?
Unfortunately, I agree with that.
Okay, so I can say that the worst time to find an attorney is when you need one. The worst time to be looking for an attorney is when you need one. It would be like, this is a crude analogy, but it's the best one I've got here. It would be like getting to your wedding night and determining you need to find a bride. Like, Z, it's midnight. I'm married. I'm not sure who to, but let me find that bride. I mean, it's a weird time. It's a weird emotion. It's a weird panicky thing. The worst time to look to see if you have fire insurance is after a fire. You know what I'm saying? It's a little proactivity. So what I would encourage you to do is what I did years ago. I would encourage you to go to wintersking.com, and to schedule a consultation. Why? See if you like these guys. But while you're, waiting for a response, or while you're on the phone on hold, or you're waiting to call them, go read the reviews and look at their client roster, who they have represented. I believe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you have represented Pastor Craig Rochelle. Your firm has.
Mm-hmm.
You have. That's the largest. It's the largest evangelical church in America. There's 100,000 members of this thing. I mean, it's huge. Joyce Meyer.
Yes.
You guys have represented her at winnersking.com. Am I correct?
Absolutely, for a very long time.
Brother T.D. Jakes.
Bishop Jakes, absolutely.
By the way, I am very bitter and frustrated that he's not been on the show yet.
We are going to make it happen one day, Clay.
And when I say bitter and frustrated, I mean I am excited and anticipating it to happen. See, that's what I
Bingo,
mean.
there you go.
I just
Turn that
rephrased it wrong. I sent an email to you verbally somehow. So all I'm saying is you guys have represented some big people, business owners, a lot of business owners, and you represent me, which is your probably a client that you're least proud to represent. So you represent all spectrums of people. And my wife engages with you, I think, on the daily or maybe every other day.
Pretty close, yeah.
Because there's stuff going on.
Yep.
And Z, is it important in your mind to have a relationship with an attorney that you like?
Absolutely, and that's why you want to go and visit with some, because you want to figure out who you like. Because when you need one, you don't have that time freedom of having a lunch or having a free 15 minutes or having just to go and meet them and say, do I like this person? Do I want them to be my knight in shining armor? Mm-hmm. And so, when you've been served something, it's panic and there's time. You got to respond by this, and you got to do this, and so a lot of times you just take the first one that's available, and that may not be the best choice.
So I ask you right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with your attorney? If you say a 10, they're the best. I've had multiple great relationships and interactions with these people. They've been with me in my time of need. It's always been good. Stick with your guy. Stick with your lady. But if on a scale of 1 to 10, you're ranking them Z, like a 7, because a 7's kind of like what you give something that you don't like, but you want to be nice.
You want to be nice. Right?
In Oklahoma, you'd say, how was the movie? If the movie was terrible, you'd say, it was a 7.
7.
Now, if you're in Boston, you go, well, I swear, it's like a freaking 1.
It's freaking negative
It's
2.
like the worst movie
It's
ever.
freaking negative
An
2.
abomination.
I tell you what, I've had Bad Lobster better than that.
It's like the Eagles. So you want to make sure that you are being honest on a scale of 1 to 10. How happy are you with your current attorney? 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. And if it's not a 10, I'd encourage you to go to Winners King and schedule a consultation. And Wes, can I say these things, or am I somehow infringing upon some kind of legal rules by telling people to check out your website?
Well, if it's not us, call somebody. We're happy to always take new clients, but the point I think that the listener needs to get is, you should have an attorney you love, that you enjoy working with, that you don't dread going to, because that's when things get bad. So just plan ahead in advance and find someone that works well with you that you can deal with.
Can we say that on the radio? An attorney you love? Is that? Can you actually ever love an attorney, Wes? Is that? Is that even possible?
That's blowing somebody's mind right there.
That right there.
That's like metaphysical.
I feel like, the love attorney.
So here you go. If you're out there today, again, Capstone Thought, go to Winners King, check them out, see if they're a good fit for you. And thou shalt not email. Remember that. Thou shalt not email. Okay, we gave you 13 rules today for effectively managing your email in the world of business. But rule number 1, above all else, when possible, Z, thou shalt not email.
Only when it's your last source of communication. And then for like professional stuff that you have to send, because
right.
I remember back when the fax machine was like when you sent that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's the email move.
Oh.
But if you've got nothing else other than pertinent data to send that someone's expecting, they're wanting, they've asked for,
Yep.
don't send it. And above all else, if you've got a personal angst, write it out. I like that, the old school. I would get a big old Indian tablet,
Ooh.
with a number 2 pencil.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that was nice. Sharp.
What about a stone tablet with a chisel?
Sharp.
By the time you finish grinding that in there, you're done.
Now you're worn out. You're like, I only got the first sentence. And I'm
Too
worn
tired to
out.
fight.
Yeah.
Trevor,
And then sit on it, sleep on it. And if you still feel like you need to communicate, then pick up the phone and call, or schedule a coffee, or schedule a time. Hey, I need 10, 15 minutes of your time to talk about something that's, in my mind, very important. And it's an appropriate person that you're talking to, Like you said, Clay, a lot of times someone will email you that should have gone through a supervisor or gone through a manager or gone through somebody else, and that email is just wasted on you because, 1, you're going to delete it and not even read it, and 2, they're not going to get done what may need to get done. And so always go through the proper channels. Try to email last resort, only if it's data or personal stuff. And For goodness sakes, folks, do not have a long conversation vis-a-vis texting, email, Twitter. This is not the way to communicate. And I know right now our society, today I was so frustrated this morning, Clay. I got to add this in right now.
Add it in.
I called, some people needed me to do some stuff, and I called them. Nobody answered their phone. And I was just like, oh my goodness, answer the phone. Shunda. Answer the phone. We got to get this thing, and I don't want to take the time to type it out and then render it. Did I get it right? Did I do this, did that? Just pick up your phone, And so you leave a message, and then they call you back, and then you get it handled, But I'm kind of old school. Talk it out. Hear their voice, get the thing settled, get the thing done, and then move on in life. This endless communication of, what did you mean by that? And what's this? And
The endless email thread.
Endless email doom loop. And I like calling it the doom loop.
It is a doom loop.
So we're giving you practical ways to get back your
Get
day,
out of the doom loop.
get control of your life.
Yes.
I mean, because when you said that earlier, that 11 hours are spent on screens.
11 hours a
And
day.
half of that is
Emailing.
the email equivalent.
What are you doing?
What are you doing, folks?
Jackassery of the highest order. Hopefully it ends for you today. And Z, we like to end each and every show with a boom. Wes, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Z, are you ready?
Absolutely.
And remember, these mics pop now. It's a hot mic.
Hot mic.
We got to back up as we
Gotta
say the
back.
boom. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom.
Thou shalt not email. Thou shalt not email.
I feel like you're really singling me out here. I email all the time. I forward Chuck Norris jokes. I manage my employees via email. I provide criticism to my employees via email. I deliver feedback to my employees via email. I try to lead my team via email. I try to deal with legal situations via email. You're so harsh. I just do everything via email. I feel like you're really calling me out.